Hello again, this is Sean Terry from the Flip2Freedom podcast, and I am excited here in 2022 to revamp the podcast. I have been on hiatus since the pandemic started, not been in the studio recording podcasts, so I'm pumped to be here today, and we got some awesome information we're going to cover in this episode. We just came out of our annual meeting, and I've got some KPIs, key performance indicators, I want to share with you. I want to share you the three most important key performance indicators in your entire business. We're going to talk about how to improve those in 2022 to explode your income. We're also going to talk about some other KPIs that are interesting by doing deals virtually across the country and running a team. So if you are brand new to the Flip2Freedom podcast and you've never listened before, this entire podcast is to show you exactly how to flip houses using no cash or credit, and how to essentially wholesale or assign your contracts. And we do deals nationally all across the country. So what we do is we market and find a distressed seller. So a seller wants to sell their property and they don't want to sell through traditional means like listing with a realtor. And then we'll get that property under contract, and then we'll find a cash buyer, and then we'll assign that contract. So for an example, we have a $100,000 house, we get the property under contract for $100,000 all fixed up. $100,000, we get it under contract for $50,000, and we turn around and find a cash buyer and assign it for $10,000. So he's buying it for $60,000, and we're able to make $10,000 on that transaction. Now the cool thing is you can do this over and over and over and over again, and you can do it all across the entire country. There's some markets we stay out of, but most markets across the country we are doing deals in. So that is what the podcast episode is about. And the cool thing is, it doesn't matter if you're part-time, if you've never done real estate before, and you're worried about having, credit to get a bank loan, to find a house in this crazy market, and then you got to fix it up, and then you want to turn around and sell it. You don't have to worry about all that. You can do things, what we're talking about in this podcast, and find sellers through different various marketing means and help these sellers sell their distressed properties. We have people that have fire damaged properties. They can't list it, right? So they sell properties through us. They have maybe a tenant trash the property. Maybe it's an inherited property. We just closed a deal with a seller where someone vandalized the property and ripped out all the copper in the entire house, and there were vagrants living in the back of the house. So, how do you sell that house, right? Well, guess what? They contacted us, we solved the problem, and we were able to generate a profit off it. So the cool thing is that, on a part-time basis, what if you did one deal a month? Well, that's, make $10,000 a month. What would it take on your current job to make $10,000 a month right now to get an increase? What if you just did one deal every 6 months? What if you did one deal a year? That's still a $10,000 increase, which is amazing. So this is how I get involved in real estate, wholesaling houses. I've been wholesaling houses now since 2003, so 19 years I've been doing this. I started the podcast back in 2010, and I love real estate, I love teaching, and I love doing deals. So KPIs, right? What the heck are KPIs? KPIs are key performance indicators. And like I said, we just came out of our annual meeting, and we're going to break down the most important KPIs. I'm actually going to give you my KPIs so you can kind of compare them to your KPIs. And kind of see where you're at. Now, people want to know, who have listened to the podcast in the past, what the heck have I been up to in the last couple of years, right? Well, first, for the last, maybe 16, 17 years, I have primarily wholesaled in the local market here in Phoenix, Arizona. We would do, we'd drop 100,000 postcards a month. We'd spend tens of thousands of dollars a week on Google AdWords. We had cold callers. We were texting. We were dropping ringless voicemail. We have bandit signs that we're putting out. We were doing everything we possibly could to hit every single person we could in Phoenix, Arizona, or in Maricopa County, Arizona, to get deals. And it came to the certain point where these KPIs didn't work for me. I'm going to give you an example of some different KPIs, but, our cost per lead is a very important KPI, and that skyrocketed to over $500 cost per lead. Just to generate a lead cost $500. Our average deal size was roughly $18,000, and our conversion rate, which is our leads per deal, how many leads it takes to get a deal, was about, 15 to 17 at the time, which if you compute those numbers don't create profit. It's not profitable. So I came to the point, now we get some bigger deals and we get some smaller deals, but kind of averaged out about $17,000, $18,000. The bottom line is it came to a point after doing all this and all this marketing, and we're doing millions of dollars in revenue, but it wasn't profitable. So I had to make a change. And the primary change was driven behind leads, right? If you can get leads for cheaper and their quality for less than $500, then hey, we could potentially make something work. So I worked on our Google AdWords campaign. I worked on our Bing campaign. And what I did was started targeting national, all across the United States. And leads started coming in, and a lot of them sucked. They were terrible, right? They're in these small markets all across the country that we couldn't do anything with, right? In these little hole-dunk towns, or we get a house in Detroit, right? That someone's like, here, just take it. I will give it to you for $500. And we couldn't do anything with. So I launched that in 2019, right? It was November of 2019. I started developing the campaigns. I launched the campaigns in November. We started getting leads coming in. I was tweaking the campaigns. I started real small. I was spending about $25 a day on the campaigns, which is a huge difference of what I was doing in our local market. But I was pivoting. I was testing. I was trying to see what would come in. And again, a lot of weird things, a lot of, weird deals came in, sellers came in, other wholesalers, were hitting us up, all sorts of stuff, right? So that was November. December was kind of crazy because we had Thanksgiving. This is 2019, just a handful of years ago, right? And then December came in, we got some leads coming in. In January 2020, we went full force ahead. And I put the pedal to the metal. I increased our marketing budgets, and we've got leads coming in like crazy. And our cost per lead, I got the cost per lead down to about $36 cost per lead. Now, we have 500 versus 36. We can do something with that. We got leads coming in like crazy. And I was working, now, and here's the other thing. I had an entire team in my local market, and I told them we were pivoting. We're completely changing. So what I did is I changed our CRM. I got rid of Podio, and I got another CRM, Freedom Logic. So I completely pivoted out of our CRM. Right? I completely rebranded the entire company. I stopped with the old brand and rebranded with the new brand, right? Then I changed our whole marketing method and said, we're not meeting sellers in person. We're going to do everything over the phone, from acquisitions and dispositions. We got rid of lead managers, right? And we just did an acquisition team and a disposition team. And guess what happened? 90%, 80% of my entire team quit. They quit. They couldn't handle it. They're like, I can't, there's no way. So I had literally a skeleton crew in 2000, at the beginning, end of 2019, going into 2020. I had a handful of people that basically stayed to me and said, okay, let's do this. So we went out with my acquisition team, and I had my main dispo guy. He quit on me. So I didn't really have a disposition team, but I had to work on the acquisition team. So I worked with them. We signed 30 contracts in January out of the gate. And we were excited. We're like, this is amazing. We're signing contracts left and right. Detroit, $500. Ohio deals, 3,000, 50, all this type of stuff. Right? But the problem was I didn't have a dispo department. And we were signing contracts like crazy, but then now how the heck do we sell them? And I have a whole entire course that I created after we figured all this out called Remote Millions, and it's done amazing. The bottom line is that we had to figure out how to sell it. So now I had to step in my dispo department. We sold one and closed one out of all the 30 transactions. We had to cancel all 29, and we actually closed on one deal. And that was discouraging. I had another couple people quit, after that month was terrible. So January came out of the gate, we got smarter. We tightened our criteria on what contracts we're going to sign. Then we signed more contracts. Then I flipped over and worked with the dispo department. And I started working disposition. I kind of created a system and a process for the disposition to sell properties across the entire country. And then we started doing that. We started selling properties. We started, getting under properties under contract with buyers nationally so we could assign those. We found a national title company. Obviously, we worked with them. And then guess what? We sold some transactions. We got some deals closed. We started to gain some traction in 2019. And then, 2020, February 2020. And then March came, right? Remember March 12th, 13th of 2020? Well, what happened? The pandemic hit, and we were full force ahead. I had my marketing budgets. I was interviewing people. We were hiring people. I was training my team. We're learning these new processes and procedures. I was literally inventing on the fly, and then the pandemic hit, and obviously people freaked out. Stock market crashed. It was absolutely insane. My team was like, "Oh my gosh!" They didn't know what was going on. And I was in the middle of an interview process with a COO that was going to run my company. I'm like, well, hold off a second. I don't know if we're even going to be able to exist here. But about a week after that, and it was like March 20th or so, mid to end March, I was like, you know what? Let's just go. And we just went. I hired Josh, and I said, I'm going to show you how you can make $1 million a year. And I just laid everything out, showing him exactly how he could make $1 million a year working with me. He came from a job where he was making $400,000 a year. And I said, here, you're going to make $1 million a year, and I'm going to show you how. And I mapped it out. And he got started with me, and he headed up our dispo department. He worked with our acquisition team. I worked with the acquisition. I was selling properties. I was acquiring properties. Our sales team was doing the whole thing. And we crushed through the rest of 2020. And we figured out our systems and our processes. We hired more people, and we grew the team where now we have an awesome team that is just absolutely crushing. And we're hiring more people as like we have hiring ads out there constantly. We're constantly looking for rock star people to help with either acquisition or disposition. Anyways, so the turnaround crushing it. Now, the bottom line is that the KPIs are the most important thing for the business. So that's what I was been up to for the last 2 years is, hiring people, rebuilding my real estate investment company, our wholesaling company, and learning how to dominate on a national basis, doing it then versus doing it on a local basis. And our primary means and methods have been, for marketing, has been Google AdWords and direct mail. We're going to be leading into TV advertising nationally, so we're super excited about that. And we're growing the team to hit our goals of $50 to $100 million a year wholesaling houses in every market across the country that we are able to do business. Now, here's the thing. Three most important KPIs. First off, you have to know what a KPI, you have to track your KPI, and then you have to improve your KPI. So let's talk about the three most important ones. First one is CPL, cost per lead. What is your cost per lead? What does it cost you to generate a lead? So take all your leads divided by the cost, or take all your costs divided by the leads, and that's your cost per lead. So our cost per lead is $84, right? That's pretty high. And that's a blended campaign. We have primarily California campaigns that we do. We have national campaigns that we do. We have some retargeting campaigns, some discovery campaigns with our pay-per-click advertising and Bing campaigns. But blended cost per leads roughly is $84. Now, leads per deal, right? Leads per deal is 42 leads to generate one deal. 42 leads to generate one deal. So if you do the math, right? And you look at it, right? And you go, okay, 84 times 42, it's about $3,500 to generate a deal. Now, if you look at our old numbers, right? And we had $500 cost per lead, and you have $500 times 18. Well, that was $9,000 to generate a deal. So if you have $9,000 to generate a deal, and you pay your sales team commission, and you got to pay, overhead, and you got to pay off. I mean, literally, and your average deal size is $17,000, $18,000. Well, guess what happens? Your margins are just tightened, and it's amazing. So now if it costs $3,500, and we're really working on getting that number down, we're going to talk about that. But $3,500 and our average deal which is the next KPI, average deal size is $21,000. You can run a multi-million dollar organization and run it at a 40% profit margin with these numbers, and that's what we're doing. So I'm going to give you these right here. Cost per lead, $84. Leads per deal, 42. Average deal size is 21,000. Average deal size. Now I'm going to give you a couple different KPIs that's interesting across the country, right? When we're doing deals nationally over the phone, and how it ties into our acquisition profit pyramid. Now, our acquisition profit pyramid, I don't think I've ever shared that with anybody before. I've never shared it on the podcast. I don't think I've ever shared it in a YouTube video, but it's incredibly important. It's our acquisition profit pyramid, and how that works. So these are some interesting KPIs. It takes 4.27 hours to generate one $27,000 or $21,000 deal. It takes 806 calls to make $21,000. So dials per deal is 806, and talk time per deal, TTD, is 4.27. Now, why is that important? Because as we hire acquisition reps, we monitor their effort. What's their effort? Talk time and calls that they make. So if we have a sales rep and their quota is to at least write $50,000 in revenue minimum, that's their bottom line minimum, $50,000 each week in revenue, and they've got to do either 2 transactions or $50,000. That's their quota. Now we look at and we can give them a baseline to shoot for. So that means they got to do a minimum of 1,600 calls a week, right? And at least 8.6 hours of talk time. That's if they're good. This is our best rep that's producing those numbers. So we're taking those numbers as someone that's brand new, and we're tripling those numbers, and we're giving them a target of how much effort they got to bring to the table. So when we're hiring and we're sitting down and interviewing, we're showing these KPIs and saying, here's what it takes to be successful with our company. Are you willing to put in the time, energy, and effort? Because don't even waste our time, right? Now, our reps, we've got one of our part-time reps that's has been a teacher for the past 14, 15 years, and she made more part-time. She works weekends. She works our weekends. She made more part-time working weekends than she does as her full-time job being an acquisitions for us, which is amazing, right? Amazing. We have some of our top tier levels that you hit with bonus levels that are on pace to do $180,000 a year in income, right? And they don't have to worry about generating a lead or doing anything. All they got to do is sign contracts over the phone and be great at that. So what's this acquisition profit pyramid? Now, I don't want to take credit for this. Josh, my COO that I hired during the pandemic, he's the one that actually came up with this acquisition profit pyramid. And what it does is it separates effort versus technique, right? So when we hire somebody on and we're working with them, they're going to bring their effort to the table. What are their effort and energy? And yes, they're going to have some potential sales technique, but we can train that technique and help them become better in the process. Now, if someone already knows sales and they know how to talk and they know how to overcome objections, they understand the process of a closing timeline, right? Then they're able to negotiate and be able to do that. Great. That helps the situation. But if they don't, then we can teach them on that process. Now, Here's what the pyramid looks like. At the very top of the pyramid is revenue, right? Revenue is the number one thing. That's what everybody focuses on. That's the main KPI. That's what they get rewarded for. That's what they get recognition for, is revenue across the board. Now, under revenue is potential signed revenue. So each week they're going to sign contracts for revenue, right? What does that look like? They might have signed 3 contracts for $72,000 in potential. I haven't closed it. We haven't got paid on it yet, but it's potential signed revenue. That's the next step in the pyramid. And that's all technique, which we'll talk about in a second. The next under that pyramid is signed contracts. So we have revenue, we have potential signed revenue, and then we have signed contracts. And under signed contracts, we have offers. And under offers, we have talk time. And under talk time, we have calls made. Okay? So here's the thing, is that the more calls you make, right, the more time you're going to spend on the phone talking to sellers and making offers, you're going to be getting contracts signed. You're going to get potential signed revenue, which is eventually going to get you to revenue. So what we do is we track this pyramid every single week with all our reps. All of this information, right, can be viewed and verified. It's not self-reported, it's verified. So we use Dialpad as our calling system. My entire team now, I'm actually leveling my entire office right now. And I'm turning it into a massive event center and studio so we can do these recordings and I can fly people in and we can do interviews and stuff like that. It's going to be really cool. The bottom line is that my team works virtual and we use Dialpad, and it allows us to transfer to our team, you know, all across the valley here in Phoenix. We actually have people virtually across the country as well. So what happens is that you can track, you can look at the analytics. I can see how many calls each person made. I can see how much time they spend each week on the phone. And it will give us that, and it'll give us a ranking of the reps from top to bottom. So here's the effort, and here's how we review each person weekly, their performance, and how they work and how they're held accountable within our company. They're bringing their effort. Their effort's the calls made, and their effort's the talk time, right? The technique and the skills is how many offers made, signed contracts, potential signed revenue. So what if we have, and this is one interesting thing we found with one of our reps as we started tracking these numbers, is we found that, guess what? This guy's making a ton of calls. He's spending a lot of time on the phone and he's making a ton of offers, but he's not getting contracts signed. Why? See, if you have this pyramid, you can see the break on where someone needs help. So he was spending the effort, he was doing everything, he was making offers, but he wasn't getting them signed. Why? Why wasn't he getting them signed? So what we did, we started listening to the calls, because everything's recorded in Dialpad. We can hear every single call that's happened. So we went through and I started listening to every one of his calls. Guess what we found out? He was talking to a seller, and the seller goes, hey, I want $200,000. He goes, okay, great. Let me go to my underwriting department. Let me see what they can do, the highest offer they can get, and what I'll do is I'll send you out an offer. So they wanted 200. He come back with offer 175. He sent him out a DocuSign for 175, and he tried to follow up with them. Then they get ghosted. He gets ghosted, right? He never negotiated. He never got a meeting of the minds. He never talked to the seller and say, hey, listen, I went to my underwriting team. You know what? The best we can do is 175, and I got a conditional approval for that 175. And I'm excited to get that because of this, that, and the other. And now he didn't like that feeling of uncomfort of negotiating and giving someone less for the property than they wanted, right? Because he was a people pleaser. So what happened is we said, hey, listen, if you want to continue, we started training. Here's what you need to do. And we started listening to calls. Here's how it needs to be done. And he couldn't handle it, right? He didn't like that. He didn't like that feeling of confrontation and being able to, he just wanted to send offers and cross his fingers and hope someone would sign the contract. the bottom line is that we can know this stuff by looking at this profit pyramid. Now, we also can look at the difference. We can say, hey, we got one rep that spends this amount of time on the phone. She's making this amount of offers and getting this amount of revenue. We got another one that's not performing as well. What can we do to get them up to speed and work on their skill set? And then some people are just not cut out for it, and they can't do it, and they're not a right fit. But I'd rather show people up front what the expectation is, what they're gonna be doing, how they're gonna be doing it, and how we can work through the process. And if they bring their effort and energy, and they have some sort of skill, we can train, on the offers, assigned contracts, signed potential revenue, and revenue. Okay, so this is the profit pyramid, and it's worked incredibly well. So the question happens, what if someone doesn't hit their quota for the week? What do you do? Well, they report weekly. If they don't hit their quota, they got to report daily. That means every single day now, they got to report on how many calls they made, their talk time, how many offers they made, how many contracts signed they got. And if they got a contract signed, what's the potential revenue? So they have to report every single day on those numbers. So now another week passes and they don't hit their goal. What happens? Now, typically, now they're under a review. Now they're being watched, right? And they're posting in our Discord channel, which we switched from Slack to Discord, and they're posting in the channel, and now everybody can see the performance of what someone's doing, right? They typically will step up their game, and they're not going to miss again. But if they do miss again, what happens? Well, now they're going to report hourly. So they're going to go in and they're going to start reporting hourly. How many calls have they? And guess what? We'll find out what's happening with people. And either A, they're not working, or they're just going to quit. They're gonna be like, I can't handle the pressure. I'm out of here. I quit. So that's the acquisition pyramid. It's incredibly important. So now the question is, and we were in our annual meeting, we were going through our numbers, and we said, okay, and we went through each department and see how could we improve our systems in each department that we have. And then we also figured out, okay, listen, how can we improve the numbers within that department? Because in our disposition department, they have certain KPIs. In our acquisition department, we have certain KPIs. So these are primarily the acquisition KPIs. Obviously, we cost per lead, we just talked about. So what can we do to improve our cost per lead, right? How can we reduce that cost per lead? How can we take it from 500 to 84, or 84 down to 30, 40 bucks and have that consistent low number? Well, there's a couple of different things, and I'm primarily focusing on pay-per-click advertising. You got direct mail. Those are their two major sources. And if you're nationally and you're doing deals on a national basis, pay-per-click advertising and direct mail can make you a $50 million company, right? Those two mediums right there alone can generate. You just need the people. You need the team to be able to take the leads and close the transactions. So here's what we can do on a pay-per-click basis to improve our cost per lead. Well, they have what's called click fraud software, like ClickEase, or ClickEase, or Click Cease, right? So Click Cease or ClickEase, whatever it's called, that is a software that you can essentially put a code on your site, and what it will do is it will block certain things from hitting your site. They'll block clicks, I guess you could say, from hitting your site. And what it does, like for an example, competitors will hire a VA, virtual assistant, that will use a VPN, virtual private network, to be able to click everybody's ads to try to put them out of business, right? I know competitors, larger competitors, you know them if I told you who they were, that do that type of tactics to try to put people out of business. So click fraud software can eliminate that, right? It's amazing. I eliminate probably, $4,000 to $6,000 a week in fraudulent clicks just out of our software. The next thing is what's called negative keyword management. Negative keyword management is the most important thing to reduce your cost per lead, because we target broad matched keywords. We don't target phrase or exact. We target broad, and we let kind of Google, have a run for its money and bring us leads. Now, we manage those broad-based keywords through negative keyword management. So negative keyword management, you got to go in and search your search terms. You see the terms that are not relevant to your business, and they put them on a keyword list, and you can put it on a keyword list, and that keyword list can be shared over all campaigns. Now, next thing is direct mail, right? You want to use the cheapest postcard available that you can use. That's the most effective, that will perform. We like Street View postcards. And we want to have a hyper-targeted list in smaller markets outside of larger markets across the country, right? And the cool thing about doing deals nationally and generating deals nationally is that there are so many smaller little markets, and the response rates are significantly higher if I'm going to market in Phoenix. Now, in Phoenix, the response rate is 0.0007% in Phoenix. If I hit a smaller market, right, outside like, where is that? Like, what is it, Carson, Texas, or Tyler, Texas, or what else do they have out there? They have, what are areas we hit? And smaller markets in Ohio. We're getting response rate to 2, 3, 4, 5%, which is dramatically different from 0.00007%. So hyper-targeted distress list on a large scale in smaller markets across the country allows you to get higher response rate, more quality leads coming in, because you can target those leads, and you can do it for fairly cheap. Now, that is to reduce your cost per lead, right? Next one is leads per deal. This is how many leads it takes to get a contract. This is all about conversion, and it's all about your sales team skills, or your skills, to convert a seller into a contract over the phone. And the primary thing, right? And it's interesting. I was on a flight. I was in first class. I was flying somewhere, and I was sitting next to this guy, and he was feverishly on his computer, and I was sitting there, kicking back, and he's sitting there looking at it, and I looked over, and he had a national product that they were in all the Costco's, and it was like, have you ever seen that product where you have a solar, and you have like a solar thing, and it heats, coffee or something like that. It's like or water. He had something like that. He had a product like that. I didn't really know what it was, but he showed me the brand of it. I was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I've seen that before. But anyways, so he had a large company, had hundreds of employees, and he's the CEO, founder of the company, right? Just like you and I are. And he had a little sticker right here on the side of his computer, and it goes, "My role, my role." And under that sticker, right, it said, "My role, hire the best people, train the best people," right? That was his role. I said, "Hey, what's that? What's that little sticker right there?" He goes, I just want to keep in front of me what my main role is as the CEO of the company. I got to hire and find the best people I can find. And I got to train those best people on exactly the vision that we're delivering. And it was interesting because I never really thought it like that, because I've been such an entrepreneur, and I've been used to doing everything myself. I'd scrub my own list. I'd build my own websites. I'd code my own websites. I'd run my own pay-per-click campaigns. I would talk to sellers on the phone. And it's a mind shift to go from a solopreneur to an entrepreneur and run an organization, because now if you have really good, incredibly talented rock star people, and you hire, and then you can train them and share your vision of where we're going and how we're doing it, right? And the process of the way we do things, then your company will grow exponentially. And it's taken me a long time to figure that out, even when I've actually hired people, to be able to let go and know that, guess what? They might not hit it 100%, like I do, or I expect, to be done. But guess what? If they can get it 80%, then I can close the gap on the 20%. So Average leads per deal conversion, right? So how do we do that? We train our sales team. We talk about how to overcome objections. And here's what I do. I just get on the phone. I say, well, give me a list. Give me people you know, people who you can't close, I'll talk to them. I get on the phone, I put them on speaker, and I'm on speakerphone, and I will close the transaction on the phone in front of everybody in the room, right? And we were in our training one time, and there was this transaction we had, and the seller would not budge on the price, and the buyer did the last walkthrough right before closing and found out that the house was vandalized, right? And they ripped all the copper. I think I said that earlier. Ripped all the copper out of the house. It was terrible. The place was a mess, and there was vagrants now living on the property. So the buyer came back and said, "Hey, this is the property is completely different than we did the initial walkthrough on the property. I want a price discount." Right? And so my team was like up in arms. The deal's dead. Got to cancel it. What are we going to do? I don't know. The seller's not going to budge. The buyer wants this huge thing. I don't know what's going to, right? And we're not going to be able to close the transaction. And I think it was like a $25,000, $30,000 deal. What are we going to do, right? And now I said, well, what'd you guys do? Well, we don't know. We talked to the seller, and they're not. So I said, fine. What's the buyer's number? So I got on the phone and get the phone with the buyer. I talked to the buyer's agent. And I said, okay, what's the problem? What's the situation? Did you look at it? What's your number? Right? Because that's it. It's all down to negotiation. What's your number? She goes, $15,000. I said, you want $15,000? I said, there's absolutely no way that the seller's going to agree to $15,000. That's absolutely outrageous. That's ridiculous. It was a smaller price of the property. I mean, it was like $80,000 property. It was like, you got to be kidding me, $15,000. It's like 20-something% of the value of the property to put some no, right? The property's already trashed anyways. You knew you had to renovate it. What's a little bit of copper, and you have to get these guys out of the property. I said, come on. I said, obviously you want to kill the deal, right? Because $15,000 is outrageous. And that's how I was talking, right, to her. And I was obviously being nicer in a nice way. And she goes, well, how about 10? I said, I don't know. I said, still seems pretty exorbitant, but let me talk to the seller and see what we can do, right? Now, I went and talked to the seller, and I said, hey, listen, I'm sorry, the deal's dead. I apologize, the deal's, it's the buyer. They just, with the copper being ripped out and there's vagrants on the property and this, that, and the other. I said, they want this ridiculous number and they want out of the property, so, or potentially might want to get out of the property. So, and then she was like, oh my gosh, I just want to get this closed where, this, that, and da-da-da, and I didn't know, blah-blah, and I can get over there and I can try to get this stuff, and blah-blah. So she wanted to, see what she could do to try to do that. And I said, listen, what if I told you we could solve this entire thing? You don't have to deal with the thing. You don't have to clean up. You don't have to get the vagrant out there. You don't have to do anything. But it's going to cost about $12 a foot to get this transaction done. To be able to take this house, handle everything on the property, to get where we need to be, it's $12 a foot. She goes, well, how much is that? And I said, well, your house is about 1,106 square feet. So it's going to cost roughly about $14,472. And she goes, she was quiet for a little bit. She goes, I said, if you can agree to that, we can get it done. If not, I'm going to have to cancel. We're going to have to cancel the transaction. It's over, right? And she goes, okay, get it done. So I got her to agree to $14,700. Now, she was a wreck. She was crying. She was a mess. She was like, and this was like an inherited property and all this stuff. She was in a bad state, right? Bad situation. So then I turned around and I went to the buyer. And I talked to the buyer and I said, you know what? Unfortunately, it was a very difficult thing and this, that, and the other, yada, yada, yada. I talked to them about, and I said, hey, I got her to agree to $7,500. So if you could do, 75, I said 5,000. We went back up from 10,000 to 5,000. We agreed to 7,500. So we agreed to $7,500. So right there in front of my whole team on speaker in less than 20 minutes, I basically made about $7,000 roughly. in about 20 minutes and solve the entire problem in 20 minutes. Now, then I went to my team and I said, hey, what's the right thing to do? What's the right thing to do? And they go, oh man, and my team they built a relationship with the seller and they really liked her, and she was in need. So I said, what would you like to do? What's the right thing to do? And they're like, oh, maybe we should split it with her, give her half of something, or whatever. So I called up the seller and I basically said, you know what? I negotiated with the buyer and I got it down from $14,472 down to $7,500, and we get to save you about $7,000 for the transaction. I said, would that help you with your situation? Do you think would that be good? And she started bawling and she was crying and she thanked you so much. And, and it literally made her day, and it made everybody in my team's day that we went out and did the right thing, which is pretty cool. And we did not compromise our spread in the first place anyways. So if you look at it, training your team, getting on the phones, picking up the phones. I'll go in there and say, hey, you know what? Give me everybody that you're having a problem with that you can't close. And I'll just get on the phone and I'll just start talking to sellers and closing deals. Overcoming objections, right? Listening to your team's calls and coaching them on overcoming objections. It's different when you tell somebody than you pick up the phone and actually do it and they can hear you overcome those objections. And the other part is a meeting of the minds. The person was just sending offers out right there. He didn't get a meeting of the minds with the seller. You have to get a meeting of the minds. And there's a certain process that goes through when you make an offer to a seller. A couple things are going to happen. Either A, they're going to accept and you're going to go right to close and you assume the sale and you go right to the contract, right? You don't ask, you just assume the sale. The second thing is they're going to give you a blow off. They're going to say, I'm going to think about it. I got a realtor friend, that I have to look at it. I just want to have my attorney review the documents. Or I got to talk to my wife, or I got, a couple of investors I'm going to talk to. That is an objection. That's an objection. So now what we got to do is overcome that objection so we can get a meeting of the minds and get them closed. That is where the value comes in of a sales rep that's going to be on the phone that's handling your leads that you're paying $84 or whatever you're paying for, $500. Their value to the company is not to take orders. Their value is to negotiate, right? If someone wants 200 and you're at 175 or 165 or 150, I don't care. I want to hear them negotiate and overturn every stone possible and do whatever and stay in that call and do whatever it takes to get that deal closed. Be tenaciously gracious is what I talk about. You be graciously tenacious. That means you stick with it 100%. In a nice, positive way. And how do you do that? Right? You just make them justify, right? Make it, I have a whole training called it's called Convert More Deals. And it's all about the process of conversion, overcoming objections. And I do live calls and overcome objections and just stay with it. I don't give up. Until I win, or they just say, I'm not selling, right? And there's a certain point you cross the line and they're like, yeah, I'm done, I'm not selling. But if you have enough rapport with a seller and you're not pushy, you're graciously tenacious, then what will happen is you will get more contracts signed. And that is something that can be taught. It's a technical skill that can be taught. So if your whole team, as they're coming in and they're graciously tenacious, then you'll get more contracts signed and your conversion, those conversions will go down. All right, average deal size, $21,000 average deal size. We're increasing our average deal size this year to $25,000. So how do we do that? How do I incorporate that with my team? First off is you have a higher expectation. Our company policy now is that we have $25,000 spreads. So now going forward, right? We started at 10, then it went to 15, and then it went to 20. That's how we got to 21,000 last year. Now we're at $25,000. So if we're gonna get to a $25,000 spread, that means we have to start at a higher number, and that's where we add wiggle room, we call it, to the offer. We gotta add wiggle room to the offer, right? What's wiggle room? Wiggle room is where you have $150,000 offer of where you need to be to preserve your $25,000 spread. Well, guess what? You're going to have to offer 143, 141, 142. Okay, that's important. The other thing too is incredibly important is whoever gets the first number first, whoever gives the first number first loses. That is a sales known fact. Whoever names the first number first loses. And if you're forced to name the first number first, it best be ultra low. And we have a process in our system to be able to do that. And we have a 4-step process that we close over the phone. We've got the deep dive, we've got the set, right? And then we're gonna present the offer, and then we're gonna close the deal, right? So those 4 steps, there is a process that we'd be able to do it. But within, if we can't get a number in the initial first part of the deep dive, where we're talking to the seller about the property, and we ask them, so let me ask you a question, Mr. Seller. If we could give you give you a price that, if it makes sense and everything, and we could agree on terms and agree on your timeline, what's the minimum price, cash price, net to you number, that you would like to take, excluding you don't have any closing costs or fees. We'll take care of all that, no commissions or fees. What's the minimum cash offer you take for the property? And then you shut up and you ask that question. You gotta ask that question before you actually make the quote unquote set. And I'll do another show talking about that particular process, and maybe I'll bring on one of my acquisition reps that can talk about it. But the bottom line is that you gotta get them to name the first number first. So through that transaction, you gotta get them to name the first number. And if you can do that, you'll be amazed, right? There's gonna be a lot of times where a seller's gonna say, listen, if you give me $500,000, we got a deal. And you look at the numbers and you're going, whoa, we did a deal in Santa Barbara, California, where seller says, hey, if you give me 500 grand, I'm good. It was an inherited property. There was druggies that were living in there. The place was trashed. He couldn't get in. The guy's like, give me 500 grand and we're good. Well, we got in, we handled the situation. We got the druggies out. We sold the property for $192,000 profit in Santa Barbara, California, because we solved that problem and we gave him what he wanted. So the bottom line is that to get those bigger spreads, we got to get someone to name the first number first. And if we don't, then during the set, right? And the set is we set the appointment, then we're going to go through and dig through and get all our due diligence so we can make a presentation on the offer and talking about what we can do. But during that process, we're going to call them back inadvertently and say, hey, listen, I was just talking to my underwriting team real quick, and they're not done fully on the complete offer, but they had a couple questions, your AC and your roof or this. You just want to verify that real quick and this. It looks like they're going to be around, and give them a ballpark number, and it's going to be pretty low just to see a reaction of where they're at. If they go, oh my gosh, there's no way I'm going to sell for that, then you can need to modify your number and you got to be a little, but if they come in and they go, well, if you can get around there, that'd be good. Well, guess what? Now you're massaging the number and you're able to get a potential agreement with them so you can increase your average deal size. So there is a ton more that we could cover on basically improving these KPIs specifically. I was in 2 days with my entire meeting going through this on exactly what we could do to make our KPIs better, our talk time better, our dials better. Here's another interesting thing. Our viability of leads is about 62% on pay-per-click advertising. Well, what can we do to make that better? Well, we got to look at the other, 38% that are non-viable, right? We got to look at those ones that are non-viable and kind of dissect them and look at them. What can we do to monetize those particular leads? So guess what? We did that in the meeting. I can do a whole show on that as well. The bottom line is that this business is a blast. This business is that as we're doing it, yes, we can do deals, but if you want to blow it up and do millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, well, you can do millions of dollars a year and you can work for yourself and make it happen. But tracking your numbers, knowing your numbers turns the business into a box. Imagine having a box you could put $1 in and $5 comes out, $1 in and $10 comes out. Well, this is a wholesaling box where you can put money in and lots of money comes out, which is amazing. Now, we have a mastermind. It's called the Syndicate 9 Mastermind, and it's phenomenal. You actually get to, if you're brand new and you've never done a deal, you've never tracked before, you never talked to sellers before, you never made offers before, you get to work with my acquisition team. And we provide my leads that we have generated. We have a whole slew, thousands of leads that are what we call new no contact, or leads that I paid for, because we get hundreds and hundreds of leads that come in daily. So the leads that we paid for, but we couldn't get back on the phone. These are fresh leads, new no contact leads. And what you do is you work directly with my acquisition team, calling and making offers and working to get the transaction, and you get to earn while you learn. Guess what? You get a percentage, 25% of that deal. If you turn and get a $50,000 deal, $25,000 deal, $10,000 deal, we'll send you a check. And we have sent checks out, big checks. I sent a $15,000 check out last month, because of a transaction we did for one of our Syndicate 9 Mastermind members. Now, that's the new. If you're brand new, you get to work directly with my team. If you've never done a deal, guess what? We'll supply the leads. You get to work with my team. All you gotta do is bring your effort. You got to make the calls and the talk time, and we'll teach you on the skills and teach you exactly how to do it. So when you go back to your business, you can go out there and crush it. Now, if you're a baller and you've done $50, $100, $200,000 a year, we have a six-figure syndicate. Six-figure syndicate is where we mastermind with people doing exactly what you do. It's not this mastermind where it has a whole bunch of other people doing all these different other businesses. And there's value there, right? But being in a room where people do what you do and they speak the same language and they're talking about the same KPIs and improving those same KPIs, it's a whole different world because you accelerate your business. We got guys in a room making $2 and $3 and $4 million a year doing exactly this. We got guys in the room, that have just closed their first $100,000 in business. Well, the guy sitting in the room just closed $100,000 in business, and a guy's doing a presentation on how he does $3 million a year, right? Well, it's going, holy cow. The potential, the opportunity, and what has to happen to make this work is phenomenal. And then we have seven-figure syndicate. Those are guys doing over $500,000 to $1 million a year in revenue. We do exotic locations across the country. We get the mastermind sitting in the pool with a Corona, which is it's a lot of fun. We pick all the cool places that we want to go. We get to write it off, and we get to mastermind with some really cool people. And in those masterminds, we talk about how to take our wealth, right, and then get your money working for you. The secret to this whole thing is you're going to put energy and effort, and you're going to have a business, and it's going to create revenue. But now you have your money working for you. So I own about 760 apartment complexes right now. I'm in the process of building a mini storage unit. And this is investing now in apartment complexes that in money into it, where that money now produces cash flow without my effort and energy. That's the whole ticket. So your goal is to have an active business that produces cash and then flip it around and put it into something that produces passive income for you. So that's what the mastermind's about. Go to Syndicate 9 Mastermind, syndicate9.com, syndicate9.com. You can go check that out and learn more about it, but I'd love to. You can talk to Bryant, and Bryant will take you through an application process, and we want to make sure that you're a right fit working with us. So this is the Flip2Freedom podcast. Thank you for joining. Greatly appreciate it. Go out there and crush it, because there are people out there right now, millions and millions. I haven't even talked about it. I'll do it in the next show. I'll talk about the 2022 real estate market. Did you know that December was the lowest inventory in history? I mean, years, 480,000 units. Our average units on the market are between 1.4 and 1.6 million units. That's a normalized market between 2016, 17, 18, right, 19. Well, guess what? It plummeted, right, to 1.2, 1.3, 1.5 million units on the market, down to 480 units. 480 units. And you're able to get deals, you can get contracts. Well, guess what? You're gonna be able to sell those things like crazy because there's no inventory in the market. But there's no inventory for not what you think. Not because there's this massive demand of buyers, is because buyers are holding their properties tight. You know, how many people do you know right now that don't wanna put their house on the market because they're afraid they won't find another house? So what are they doing? They're not selling. So there's going to be a shift in the market here in 2022, 2023, where guess what? People are going to start putting their houses on the market. We haven't even talked about the wave of foreclosures that is sitting. There's a dam about to break with a wave of foreclosures to the tune of 1.5 to 2 million foreclosures. They're going to start hitting through the process in first and second and third quarter of 2022. So as a real estate wholesaler, you are in the right time at the right place. Don't mess around. Don't contemplate, consider, evaluate. Just don't try to figure it out by watching YouTube videos. Go out there and learn this business inside and out so you can turn around and capture what I believe is one of the greatest opportunities that we'll ever have as real estate investors, where there's going to be tons of inventory coming into the market, distressed inventory coming into the market, and there's still going to be buyers into the market as interest rates come up, because buyers are going to want to start. They're going to have to break that. They're going to have to come out and start buying properties because of those interest rate hikes that are going to be happening in 2022. So you're in the right place at the right time. Get up and going. You go to Flip2Freedom.com, go to Syndicate 9, check out our Mastermind. Again, thank you so much for joining us on the show. If you're on YouTube here, like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do, and I'll talk to you soon.